I think it's pretty safe to say that just like Trex, the audience is going absolutely bananas, ready to get into the draft. So without further ado...
It's because there's bananas on my shirt. That's what that joke was,
Get
right,
it?
Private?
Get it?
Zeke, you're so funny. Thank you for the toss. Thank you for bringing us back into the draft now. We've laid down the stakes. We've laid down the law, and it's game number one. And I think the final thing to point out, just to kind of set up the story one last time, is both these teams tied at 6 points. And this is what we've been talking about all day, is so many teams are so dead even right now. So this is the deciding factor of who's going to seal that third place, who's going to lock themselves into a possible third or second place finish as we move towards into the season. Drafts coming in. The Novaria continues to be banned, but here's something new on the bans. That Joy. And I think there's just respect because we know that Kush likes those assassin picks sometimes. Even though I think before we saw DA pick up, we saw Kush lock in this Joy on like previous days, and they lost with it. I think it was... can't remember exactly when it was, but I feel like we've seen the Joy and it got locked up by the Ruby, so there are counters to it, but still A77 showing the respect.
Yeah, really interesting. You bring up the assassins, but now we still have Nolan out there as well. If you're afraid for the assassins, the dashing, the maneuverability out in the map, there's so many options out there to kind of, especially for the early game, to really put that damage and that effect and that pushing power to the enemy there. So we're going to see what else we're going to be taking off here. I want to say a lot of mobility taken off the map here right now. We're really trying to iron in both of these teams into that support tanky type of jungle here as we're trying to take off those speedsters from the map.
Yeah, but leaving the Nolan open could be dangerous because it's not like Tarzan. Don't get me wrong, we've been seeing Tarzan on a lot of... hold on, because I'm wondering, is Tarzan going to pick up the Nolan here? Like, because Tarzan's an old school West jungler, man. And if you know, like, the Western boys back then, they were really like the assassin junglers. Like, even when we saw basic jungle a little bit way back, but no, he's going to play it safe. He's going to go for the Barats. Does Kush pick up the Nolan here? I'd love to see it. It's kind of dangerous, though, because if he picks it up, like... They got to take the Ruby. If they pick up the Nolan, they need to get something that slows him down.
Yeah, well, it depends too. Are you looking to kind of form your own composition out of this, or do you have to answer the Barats? Which I kind of feel like with the Barats, with how strong he is, his win rate right now, I feel like you have to answer that. You have to maybe pick up that expert, maybe pick up that carry, something that will be able to kind of shred into the armor and the health that he's going to be having there. Vexana picked up first for the side of devious activity.
I think they're wondering it. It's like, because you're right. It's like if we pick up Nolan, we probably just get bullied by Barats. Like, it just opens up. Let's just get invaded. Let's pick up the Nolan and get invaded. But you're right. They go for the X-Borg, which they're answering the Barats. They go for the Vexana. They get 2 power picks. And if they want to still pick up something like the Nolan, it's always there for the pickings. I feel like on the side of A77, I'm going to go for him. I'm going to get crazy here. The Ruby is probably solid. We've seen the combo with the Barats. It works well. Maybe lock in a mage here as well. Nana's open, Lilia's open, couple possibilities. Novaria has been picked off, so I feel like one of those two are maybe the next best thing here.
Well, we've seen that the Valentina has been a big thing. I like this. I like this. I haven't seen it too often, and it kind of shocks me because of how strong it is together. And I wonder why we don't see it too often. But Angela and Barats, that means you're going to have this tankiness with the Hearts Guard, with the slow, and the early game presence that Angela has.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. And just... because you now have 2 very big dynamics on the side of Area 77, like the Heart God Claude, plus you have this Barats that can cause mayhem, and it's very similar to what we saw from Fiends in previous matches earlier. So it's just a lot of different ways you can approach the match for Area 77, where DA still hasn't kind of locked in a clear strategy just yet. They have the damage, they have the Vexana, they have some counterplay to Barats, but they haven't really like rounded out. And when I look at Area 77, they already feel rounded out. Like, they can pretty much slot whatever they want at this point as long as they don't get too crazy.
Yeah, I mean, but on the side of devious activity, we have the early game with the Vexana. We have some of that piercing and tanking. Well, not tanking, but like a good front line with Mikasa, depending on where he's going to be going. The jungler, I almost feel like it would be a little bit preferred to kind of match up and be able to kind of shred through the Barats. And it does, oh man, we're taking out, I think both teams had the same idea in mind when it came to taking down those setting and CC heavy roams. The Minotaur taken off there, Tigreal taken off there, Lu Yi amazingly taken off there for devious activity.
But what is so like with DA taking out some of these big heavy roams, what do they go for? Do they maybe they pick up something like support as well? Maybe something like the Estes or the Raph as well could be possible. Like, it's fine if you want to go for the Angela, we're gonna do it as well, because they were willing to ban out the Tig after the Minotaur was banned. So maybe we see something like the Raph from them here. We've seen it picked up a lot, like Raph Basha. Very possible.
Yeah, some type of healing, I assume, is coming from the side of DA. That's the only real reason to kind of take out the Lu Yi. She has a great synergy when it comes to anti-heal out. Oh, okay.
Kaja?
Absolutely. Beside what I was thinking they were going to go for, they're going to go ahead pull up that Kaja.
I mean, T's been favoring this Kaja a lot on DA. It has been good. It has been bad. We've seen a little bit of everything from it so far. T has kind of been like the black sheep in terms of roam from all the other teams. He's picked up things like the Kaja. He's picked up the Hilda on certain times of important measure. Like, he's never scared to go a little bit outside of the box. Does it work here against the Claude? It does kind of find the way to get past that Purify, get past the possibility of escape. But for now, that is kind of it. And now we see the Gourd from A77. Another outlier that we haven't been seeing all the time. Yureshi Cutie going to get in the Ruby, which is very solid here. Kind of maybe being the delay to keep T away from those engages.
Yeah, really interesting. You're going to have a big, tanky front or CC heavy front line coming from Area 77, which means that you're going to also have a lot of room potentially for Marcutie on this Gourd to be able to send out that Mystic Gush, to be able to do a ton of damage. And then you have the fear of that back line ISO being able to, or for the Claw to be able to dive into the back line, possibility of the Heart's Guard to aid him with it, with that Blazing Duet. On the other side though, we're looking to see what we're going to go ahead to match up with this Kaja as well. Kaja in North America sitting at about a 75% win rate.
I mean, Kaja's, it's doing well, but also doesn't get picked very often. Again, it is kind of the answer to the Claude here. It can also help deal with these big Lord fights, with these big neutral objectives. And maybe if you don't want to use it on ISO, you can use it on Tarzan, right? You can try to pull away the Barats to kind of help Kush secure those objectives. So I think it's a big play of mechanics between both of these teams. It's a big play of like, who can make their ultimates count here? Who can kind of make sure they landed on the right person? Because it's the same thing for Area 77. One of the big detrimental things, though, I think, is Yureshi on this Ruby. I mentioned it. Yureshi's a key player on this team. He's a key player to making things happen. And if he has a good game here, if he gets the right offendeds off, it could be groundbreaking.
Yeah, very interesting here. I want to say the big thing, well, actually, I mean, we're going to move into it, guys. I mean, we're going to stop theorizing, and we're going to move into game one of Area 77 taking on Devious Activity. Both teams tied at 6 points at a leaderboard.
Okay, so both teams with the utility jungle, nothing too crazy there in deciding factors of early or late game. When we look at the mid, though, take a look at Gourd, we take a look at Angela. There's decent wave clear there. There's actually great wave clear there. And it does look like Devious Activity is taking the slower route when it comes to terms of rotations and laning phase. T kind of helping out Kush to clear that orange buff a little bit faster, but because of that, Area 77 kind of gets, you know, they're able to move around on this river, but both teams want to contest for the Lethal Wander here.
Yeah, he saw that nice little stun land from Marcutie, and it's going to go ahead and help Area 77 go ahead and take the first Litho.
Which is big for them, right? And in terms of off lanes, We have ISO, we have Melon. We've seen this matchup a few times before, but honestly, when it comes down to Claude and Carry, neither of them extremely outrange the other. Neither of them crazily poke each other. So I don't think it's like anyone outright wins. It kind of comes down to, can Melon get the speedy light wheel at the right time and maybe really burst down onto ISO? Does ISO have a BMI ready to escape? It's a much more mechanical fight here.
Yeah, and what's interesting here is the back line. ISO is going to have to dive deep to try to get that damage onto Melon. And Melon, I want to say, Mikasa is going to be the big one for the side of devious activities that is going to be diving into the back of Area 77. And it's really going to be on those players and their success rate during these team fights to see who really kind of comes ahead or comes around ahead during these fights.
And now with Turtle coming up, DA seems poised and ready, but so does Area 77. Yato kind of up on the top side, going to be going to have to take the long route to this fight, and you're actually already cutting off.
Ooh, Tarzan getting very close there. I'm Offended does come out there. Kush able to grab the first turtle. Down comes the Appraiser's Wrath. Mark Cutie with the Mystic Gush. Mikasa in trouble. Ooh. Still able to find a kill onto Tarzan, but Yoreshi finds a kill onto Mikasa. 1-1 apiece, but that first turtle goes to Area 77.
So TA gets
goes
Turtle.
To devious activity.
Yeah, DA gets Turtle. I thought the same thing for some reason. My brain just registered Kush getting it as Area 77. This is how much these players used to play with each other, right? But DA doesn't only get Turtle, they also get First Blood, and they get the First Blood on to wait. Who did that? They get the First Blood onto Tarzan there, which that's kind of big, right? Taking out jungle, I think, is a little more important than just taking out the EXP laner for DA. So for me, it's a clear win for DA. They also start to get a gold lead. Taking a look at some of the items, and nothing too crazy. One thing to point out, ISO decides not to pick up boots, was these pretty common for Claudes, especially in an early game, because you get the passive speed boost and everything. But I will say this, Melon does seem to be winning out a little bit on lane when it comes to gold.
Yeah, and Kush doing a great job here right now, just being harassing to the side of Area 77, already in their jungle, and looking to really kind of state his claim on Area 77's minions.
Yeah, so at that point, ISO has to take his time. T already kind of poisoned. This is what I want to see from T. I think kind of hover down in the gold lane a bit more. You see it pretty commonly when people do pick up the Kaja. Try to get a pick onto ISO early on. Slow down the Claude, and if you can do that, it can all, and there it is. ISO, though,
really
smells it in the water.
Bait there from ISO. You see they chomped down on that so hard, looking to try to get him, and he comes back with the battle mirror image.
So clean. It's going to be a hard catch. It's definitely going to be a hard catch. And look how ISO, he knows. This is something interesting to point out as well that I didn't catch at first. ISO knows that T has that, wait a second, little nom-nom.
Yeah, you see, terrified is Tarzan. Big Mystic Gush finds and lowers down T, but now Appraiser's Wrath going to be able to catch and take down Tarzan. And this is before the next turtle, which means that the side of Area 77 will not have a retribution.
So ISO went for the sprint instead of the Purify because he knows it's like, what do I got Purify for? To get out of something that's unpurifiable, like something that I can't escape the Divine Retribution anyways. So he picks up the sprint instead, which I'm wondering like how wise of a decision that is. I think it could play out as a bonus, but he might regret it if he gets caught dead by a bad Eternal Guardian or something.
Yeah, he's waiting, and look at 3 members, so he's going to decide against actually even contesting this tower. Great positioning from ISO, though, and to give him a great vision so that he knew what was coming and whether he should go ahead and engage or not.
I mean, good plays. DA, though, better plays. Get the tower, able to cut it off. They're making good progress. They're catching their laning phase stride very well. And as long as they can keep running with this, as long as they can kind of keep up this pressure, they can definitely hold on. I think the next big objective, though, is try to get a kill on ISO, and that might be what they're looking for. They keep hovering down to this gold lane, just searching for him, but he's a little too slippery.
Yeah, it's very slippery, but unfortunately, the passivity coming from Area 77 and not with the rotations too, they're not able to make anything really happen, and that's really starting to elongate this gold lead. You see Kush down here at the bottom. He's going to go ahead, find the taunt on there. Tarzan and Yoreshi going to back off from this top fight.
I think Area 77, they need to get to a point. They're looking for the time in the game when they can kind of group up a little bit. When they can get the magic gush, they can get Yoreshi involved, and there goes a pick on a Tarzan.
Yeah, Divine Judgment comes out, and the Detna's welcome, but it's not going to be able to save Tarzan as he gets chunked down again. 0-3, the third death for Tarzan on Area 77.
So we found Melon's job. When Daytona's welcome happens and Tarzan's staying still, you just shred him with Speedy Light Wheel. And that's where Tarzan's gonna have to be careful. And I think the rest of Area 77, someone has to get Melon away from the fight when he's kind of going for that play to happen. Because as long as he's just a sitting duck, it's just an easy target for Melon.
Yeah, and unfortunately for the side of Area 77, Devious Activity very successful with this objective pushes, with their ganks onto the lanes. Only towers so far, and we can see right here, now Melon going to go ahead and put the damage on the ISO. ISO getting chunked down, is going to have to back up from this tower, and this actually might be, a nice little stun lands on the T, courtesy of Mark Cutie.
Melon saw T in the bush. He's like, no, wait right there. I got this, bro. 1v2. Let me show off real quick. Let me show why I'm subbed in today. Let me show why I'm on the bench here, because I'm ready to play. Melon feeling good right now. They're going to cut this lane. They're going to take another objective here. Devious keeping it slow. They're not even going for kills. They're playing like a whole different team today. They're definitely on point.
Yeah, definitely. I want to say a learning curve that happened yesterday. Devious Activity is here to represent and show that loss yesterday. I mean, they took it as a learning experience. Very slow, very methodical, and I want to say very intense here, especially with the way that they're controlling the map and the pace of the game. I feel like Area 77 isn't even able to get a rotation that is in their favor. They're just stuck reacting to Devious Activity.
Yeah, and the thing is like DA is not. They're like, we're not going to fight you right now. Like, we don't have to. We can just pick you apart. We can make you guys come out. And Area 77 kind of wants them to make a mistake somewhere, right? To where Yoreshi can capitalize on a big Amma Fend. Oh!
Yeah, big Divine Judgment lands. Tarzan gets pulled out and annihilated. And you can see the Mystic Gush is out, but only able to take down the Eternal Guardian. Into the back lines is ISO with the Blazing Duet, not able to land onto any of the members. DA just so smooth, so fluid with it. El Mikasa comes in, has the is going to have that ultimate, and still able to take down J Cutie.
Going on? I mean, DA just right now is just, they're making it look easy in game number 1 right now. It's a 5.5k gold lead. Area 77 unable to answer a single thing. They do still have some hope, though, right? They still have ISO, who's gone deathless. JQT's only taken that one death, and we still haven't really seen the full possibility of the Claude-Angela combo just yet, right? The big problem for Area 77 is with Tarzan being so far, with being 2 levels behind, the Retry's just not there. They know they can't contest these neutral objectives. They know they can't fight it. They have to wait until Tarzan's level 15, Kush is level 15, so it's going to be a few minutes until Area 77 can even try to, maybe next Lord, if they can close the gold gap a little bit.
Well, the gold gap right now, especially the where it's placed, 2k above X-Board right now is on the fellow XP laner, the Ruby. So even if they try to have Ruby front line because she's ahead of Tarzan right now, you're going to get shredded down because X-Board has been having such a great game. Mikasa just doing some wonderful things. Now we're going to go ahead and engage into here. The Divine Judgment does miss their big pull, and then I'm Offended, followed up by Mark Cutie finding a kill onto T with that Mystic Gush, and still the Heartsguard keeping them topped up. Great job for the side of Area 77, but they are still being backed up. They get a kill, but they're being they're being pushed back from their towers.
And that is just pure gold lead right there, because even when T goes down and DA's still like, yeah, we'll still send her to this tower and fight you. Like that's the problem is even if Area 77 gets what should be an advantage play, right? Like what should be they could capitalize on this play, it doesn't matter as much because the gold lead's too far ahead. Something to point out, you mentioned Sleeps and Yureshi. Yureshi also went for he's going full damage right now. He didn't go for the brute force breastplate as second item or anything like that. He went for anti-seal and anti-life steal, and he went for the war axe. So he's not as tanky as he maybe needs to be, especially when you're behind in gold. He's getting shredded down a bit too fast, and he's not able to be involved in fights to get life steal. So we're seeing that problem start to kind of show its face as well.
And a devious activity, just enforcing their will on these lanes. They just come straight at the tower. Area 77 tries to defend, but there's literally nothing they can do at this point right now. Almost 8K gold behind devious activity.
It definitely feels rough, but Area 77, what I do like, they know that it's like, we got to buy time. And they're not really forcing fights either. They're not like making any glaring mistakes. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do, which is just kind of turtle up at this point, get the gold we can. If DA overextends, we get a kill. They got that kill onto T earlier. They haven't lost anything too major. Honestly, though, they might not even be able to fight for this next Lord. They might have to wait even longer. And they do have some shred with ISO. They could, as long as they don't mess up, they could probably last another Lord, maybe even two, and push it the long haul.
For me, I mean, if they're going to push on this Lord, it's going to need to be something magical, especially concerning ISO being able to get into the back lines. They're already going to go ahead start on it here. You can see Mikasa on the side getting good vision for his team to make sure that he is zoning out the rest of Area 77. And yeah, it looks like they're not even going to try to contest it.
And I think that's the right play, right? And they have Jay Cutie who can kind of relieve some pressure. Look what he's doing on the top side. It's a good thing about the Angela. You can kind of get some wave clear and always heart guard back to safety. Devious activity just rushes the Lord. Now it's a 9.3k gold lead. And everyone, any member of Area 77 is on the block to be chopped right now. If anyone gets pulled in from T, if anyone gets targeted down, it's trouble.
Man, and look at, and they find the I'm offended. They're able to kind of lock on the T, but I mean, he's already at a point where he's pretty tanky. Mark Cutie still can't burst him down with the Mystic Gush.
So Lord coming now. Devious activity kind of poised and ready to sink some of these lanes. They should be able to crack an inhibitor, maybe two, maybe more here. If they can catch off some sort of big play, if they can maybe get T to kind of pull an ISO, if they can find ISO here, it could be game ending.
Yeah, doing a good job. You see them waiting out this lane. They want all three lanes here crashing down at the same time, especially a Lord at the bottom. That's going to put a lot of pressure up at the top lane as well. Now you have Area 77 who's going to have to spread out. Oh, Tarzan getting pulled back a bit. Mikasa getting full stacks onto the Dino, looking to put the shredding onto him. Now the rest of the team's going to have to deal with this Lord. Minions crashing down at mid. This could be an opportunity for them. They do have a big pop-up. Mikasa coming in with that ultimate blazing duet onto the back line. Yato is able to take down the tower. Down comes the Appraiser's Wrath, and Melon finding a kill onto Tarzan. DA is so low. Unfortunately, Area 77 is unable to capitalize on it.
Let's be real here. DA did not play that well. That's what an 11k gold lead does for you, ladies and gentlemen. They were under the tower. I mean, Area 77 played that perfectly, honestly. Like, they got the Daytona's welcome onto T. Blazing Duet should have cleaned things up. But when you're this far behind, you can push your limits.
Oh, Mikasa with that last insanity. He still has the immortality, but is not going to use it. I'm offended. Pulls Kush into the core, and that's going to be the end of his days for now. T getting chased down. We have the Hearts Guard on him as well. That is a tanky boy. He activates his immortality, but he's in between four members of Area 77. Starting to turn the tides is Area 77, but still 10k down.
Yeah, I mean, as long as DA doesn't continue to kind of make little mistakes like that, then that was fully worth it. Getting all three oh my god, it's a lot of damage. As long as they're able to they got all three inhibitors, it is something, but they have to know now, they have to be careful because Area 77 is definitely kind of catching up slowly. They've now already closed the gold gap about 2,000, and it's dropping more and more.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is with no high grounds left on the side of Area 77, that puts a time limit on how long they can keep these engagements going without answering the superpowered minions that are going to be coming in through the lanes. So they have to be decisive, they have to be quick, and unfortunately, when you're this far behind, it's very hard to oh, we do have a little concealed play there, caught by Yoreshi, who's going to back up with the rest of Area 77. DA doing a good job. They have the Lord on their side. They definitely want this fight, so they have a good opportunity to kind of bait it out. ISO, with that BMI, backs himself off. Lord is at about half health. If you're gonna contest the Lord, now is the opportunity for you.
Oh.
You can see them big. Divine Judgment lands on the Tarzan, who's gonna go ahead, use the ult to get himself away, gets bursted down by Melon, and the rest of Area 77 falling like dominoes. That's 2 down for Area 77. The rest of DA in chase, trying to take down J Cutie, Yoreshi, and Mar Cutie. This is 5v3. They are looking to put the finishing touches. Mystic Gust is out, but from the back line, getting taken down by Kush. That's going to be a first game for Devious Activity, and a dominating one.
A very clean finish. A dominating one is right. DA taking the lead 1-0, getting to match point. Yato, T, the whole team really just on point. Even Melon being the sub played very cleanly that game from laning phase to the end team fight there. Uses his flicker to get even more aggressive and make sure he secures the first kill of many.
I did that say Melon has been waiting on the bench for his moment.
I'm ready, man.
He's like, it's put me in, coach, put me in. And he found himself an opportunity here today and showed through. Not to be outdone, though. I want to say Mikasa had a great game here as well.
Yeah, definitely a great game. I mean, the whole team just played cleanly. The whole team plays cleanly when you only take 4 deaths all around. So I mean, that is the usual. It's like wait, nobody's died yet, so of course they're all doing well. T also, though, I got to give it up to him. The Kaja has definitely just been such a clutch pick for him. And I mentioned in the beginning, it's not just ISO that's the target. If he can catch Tarzan during those big objectives, it is also a win. And he got Tarzan several times when it came down to turtles, when it came down to mid-tower pushes, when it came down to lords. He was able to just put that pressure on, and that's one of the things that really secured them here. And now with that, Area 77 has to think about it. Let's look into some of the items. Melon just completely decked out there, even got the Wind of Nature towards the end there just as extra safety measure.
And gold per minute award going to Melon. And this was basically all Area 77 except for the assist that's going over to T. A great game by Area 77, and almost kind of like a textbook low scoring game, which meant DA knew their objectives and made sure that each kill counted and was leading to another objective.
Yeah, now, I mean, it's 1-0. I don't want to count Area 77 out just yet, but still, DA was just very clean with that. Let's take a look at damage dealt. Mikasa, this is the X-Borg effect, man. I mean, leading in damage, and it just never feels like it, but Mikasa definitely was a star that game. But take a look at Area 77. They actually outputted more damage that game. Mark Cutie was actually the leader in damage that game out of both teams, but still, it just goes to show that DA was effective in the way they executed, the way they were pushing. They were textbook, and that's why the kills were so low, just like you just stated. I mean, just super methodical about their gameplay that time around.
Yeah, and it goes to show too, especially when you get ahead on that X-Borg, you can really kind of push the boundaries and really kind of enforce your will when it comes to these towers or into these engagements. You have a Ruby that's building, not really building defensively, building more for damage, and she's behind. So now the X-Borg is chunking both of your frontliners. Your backline can't do much as they're kind of just being swarmed upon in every single objective fight. And I mean, just overall, a great draft, and I see the reason for taking the Tigreal out. A great ban from Devious Activity, because that would have been a perfect kind of counter for the Kaja out there. So, I mean, a great draft from Devious Activity, and then even better play from them.
Yeah, and they're one of those teams that they're willing to pick something a little bit different that other teams might not be picking. And like for a second, you're like, is the Kaja still viable? But they make it work. And that's what you like to see from teams. That's when, you know, teams are kind of like surpassing that level of what other teams can do. Because if we saw maybe when we see other teams get a little creative or get outside the box, it's like, ugh, and especially when it fails, right? But DA gets the win with it. So it was a good pick. Like on paper, the Kaja looks good. It's just not everybody can always pull that off. Something that's maybe a little outside the meta, but DA makes it work, right? So shout outs, kudos to them, right? But Area 77 now, what do they do coming into game 2? Because they got the Barats, they got some power picks on the field. They had a decent composition. What happened there that was really like the downfall of them?
Yeah, and that's really kind of hard to point out. I feel like when it came to the team fights, they just got behind. For me, they, like I said, it was very small kill count. So it's not like they were taking deaths or they were getting caught. It's just that every single team fight that mattered, every single objective, devious activity was successful, and they carried that success onto the next objective, onto the next gank. And until it was at a point where devious activity was so far ahead that you couldn't do anything but react. Area 77, they weren't even rotating, they weren't even trying to get ganks because they were behind. They couldn't find the openings, and it was from then on, it was that's chokehold that happens when you are ahead. You latch onto the enemy, you make sure that they can't farm, you close out the towers until like we were at that end game. No high grounds, and everything's basically stacked against Area 77.
I think so. Overall, I guess if we had to point out, it's a tempo and objective gap, right? Like tempo, in a sense that DA was just controlling it. They had a plan coming in, and their plan was always executed, whereas Area 77 were never able to really like make those tower cuts, make those things happen to get objectives on the map. And then when it came to turtles and lords, it wasn't just T, it wasn't just Kush. I think it was like Kush and T were able to continuously get Tarzan off his banter, right? Like he wasn't able to really get to where he needed to be, and the rest of the team weren't there with him. And then once that gold started to scale, DA never let the 50-50 happen. Like they never let the big fight that maybe Area 77 could turn things around happen. They just kept the chokehold on until it was eventually nighttime, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, we were talking about this. T and Yato have great synergy together, especially when they are successful. They can be rocky sometimes, but when they're on fire, and there's barely much that can stop them. And we saw here, especially now, a completely different DA than we saw yesterday. A very confident one here, and one that knows the check marks that they need to get on that list, and what they need to do to succeed, and sticking to the game plan here. Unfortunate for Area 77, it was more than they could handle, especially, like I said, a lot of these games, they can be a little overwhelming. It makes one of the teams look bad just because there's nothing they can do. Once that they get locked on and they fall behind, you're basically waiting for a mistake. And if a DA never gives you one, it's pretty much a one-sided game.
Very true, very true. And DA this time on the first pick. Now, we got some bans coming in. Draft is really starting to kick into gear now. Arlot banned from DA, still respecting Yureshi on that. Also showing that maybe it's not something they want to first pick here. Melon, Proving Ground, but what's this Lu Yi ban, man? The fact that... I mean, when you're first pick, right, you normally have like a ban or two that you can kind of like throw out if you're willing to go the distance, right? If you're willing to like test some waters here. Vexana's still open. A few things still on the field. The Nolan's still always a possibility. Joy has been taken out. CC gone. I'm trying to think. So Barats in Nolan and Vexana are kind of the big picks. Ruby as well. Couple different options for DA. Do they let the Ruby through last time? They let the Barats through last time. I do think that the Barats is definitely a possibility, though, up for front. Even though they let them get it, I still think it's powerful, especially the way the DA played last time. I think it would be even better with something like a Barats in their hands.
Yeah, and I mean, we didn't see the Nolan, which was open there, but I mean, when you're going with a tanky jungler against an assassin jungler, I want to say dare I call it, easier for the tank jungler just to kind of sit there in the objective, where the assassin has to pick his time when he wants to swoop in, try to get that retribution. So I mean, could be anybody's game. I don't know where we're gonna go here for DA. That first pick, going with that X-Borg. I mean, they had such a great success with it in the first game. I'm wondering if Area 77 has an answer for it.
Yeah, I mean, X-Borg solid, especially because it's like you're preemptively predicting, like, yeah, go Barats. We have this we got this X-Borg ready for you. You know what I'm saying? So, and you're right, Mikasa played wonderfully on us. So I don't even feel bad about this as a first pick. And because you're like preemptively expecting something like the Barats, you're kind of setting yourself up to kind of have the advantage on the counter back. To whereas normally Red side has the counter picks in. Now DA almost feels like they're in the driving seat, but Area 77 says, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to lock in the carry. The Valentina might be questionable. With the Vex on the field, I feel like they could have probably locked that in, but I guess they still get the Eternal Guardian either way.
The one thing that I kind of like about the X-Borg pickup is another Nana.
There she is, this little girl.
It's not even that I don't like the character. It's just that I get PTSD about playing against it. And when I see it out on the field and I see her doing it to pro players, where it's basically you land one ability. Ooh, when we get the when you land one ability, it's basically the entire combo coming for you. A whole heap of damage from Nana, but that's going to be coupled up with the roam being picked up by Devious Activity.
Yeah, if Area 77 doesn't pick up their jungle right here, this could be, there it is. I was going to say, this could be like one of the first times we don't see a jungle locked in the first round of drafts. Does DA set themselves up for a problem here, though? Because Fredrin picked, now the jungle answers may be like dwindling down. There goes the Nolan band. Next up could easily be maybe, probably the Barats band up next, something like that. And now DA, all they're left with, I guess either way, they have the Fredrin, so they could still pick up the Basha. They could still pick up a few answers. Diggy going to get banned out from DA, though.
Yeah, Diggy taken off the board there. It was very interesting to see Nolan. I hadn't even considered that the X-Borg might not be jungling here. So it's going to be very interesting. Melon is still looking for that marksman there. We don't even really kind of focus on the marksman there for Area 77. They take off the Nolan. I imagine they might be looking to focus down the marksmans, but I mean, with one pick kind of on the board. Pardon me?
You think X-Borg might jungle here?
That's what I'm kind of expecting too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Are you expecting that?
Yeah, because you have the Tigreal that can frontline, X-Borg that can really dive into the back. That means that even the short distance that ISO has to try to kind of melt people down, he's going to be dealing with Mikasa diving in with that last insanity. So, I mean, that's the way I'm kind of looking at this draft.
I don't know. It seems just a little scary with the taunt and the Terrify from like with the taunt from the Fredrin, and he's able to kind of close the distance onto him. Like I could see the Fraga armor getting bursted down quickly with the Valentina and the Fredrin. I mean, it's definitely possible, but you're right. Like the flexibility is definitely there if DA wants to go that route. There's still some options open on the side of Area 77. They need an EXP laner. Ruby's open. They might slot in again, but there goes the Grok. Also flexible for them if they want. Could be Ureshi, could be JQT. Could go either way if they want to, if they really want to go heavy CC. Because, I mean, they're not, I think it could be an option, especially with Diggy off the field. It's definitely something we could see from Area 77. They're not like unknown to be, especially players like Jay, players like Ureshi. They're not unknown to get, to flex something that not everyone else is doing.
Yeah, we got a good amount of early game from the side of Area 77. A good lane clear with the Grok on there. You're going to be able to kind of negate some of that, the Molinas coming out from Yato. So, I mean, a good pick up there for the side of Area 77. It's just, I don't think Grok has been as successful for a lot of teams here. And then the Ruby pickup for the side of Devious Activity. So I'm assuming that's going to be the XP lane, and it is going to be a jungle X-Borg.
I'm questioning it, man. I don't know. It's kind of dangerous, especially now with the Grok too. Positioning is going to be so key, and the way that it's really going to come down to T and Yato if they can open up the space. So it's going to be EXP Benedict, and now even more dive, even more things to kind of slow down Kush on this X-Borg. I really like Area 77's draft here. DA has like big combo potential, but Area 77 just has this like, I don't know, their draft looks mean because they also have some sweet combo, but they have the dive. I don't know. The X-Borg jungle's not selling me right now.
For me, I feel like on Area 77, especially with the Benedetta, you're going to have to be very good, very precise to be successful on this with it. Especially, I mean, yeah, she can negate a lot of the CC, but I mean, you've got a lot of CC on the side of Devious Activity. You've got the Implosion, you've got the Molina, you've got Ruby, you've got, I mean, there's
so much. It's gonna be like Neo in the Matrix here, just dodging bullets, like, Molina's flying by your head, you know.
Oh, but ladies and gentlemen, Area 77 looking to take this to a Game 3 and avenge their first match loss against Devious Activity.
All right, so Kush on the jungle export, not something we see every day, and some of the times we have seen it around the world right now, it has not been extremely successful, at least in the jungle. I am excited to see if they pulled off. You're right. Devious Activity does bring a ton of CC. They do bring exactly like what he needs to be able to hold his position and dance around and get that kiting burn damage off. I think it's about like who pulls the trigger correctly, because we look at Area 77 as well. You see this Grok. You know the wild charge possibility is there. You know the taunt and the Terrify from Tarzan and Marcutie is there as well. So it's going to be just a lot of kind of timing. Who's able to make that big play happen before the other team does, or who's able to hold on. A lot of it's going to come down to mechanics here from every player.
Yeah, I want to say like they both kind of have like the same type of composition, a very CC heavy, some front line there as well. And you're right. I think it's going to come down to execution. Who's going to be able to do it better? Who's going to get to these side lanes better and get themselves a little bit of an advantage?
I do feel like DA though is kind of like they're a bit more of like a slow roll. Like as they move across the map, it's mainly because of they have this, they have Kush on this. We're gonna have a little bit of pause, so we have time to talk about it. Kush on this X-Borg. They kind of, the rest of the team kind of has to keep pace with that, right? The rest of the team has to keep pace with that. Whereas when we look at Area 77, at any like they're gonna be like quick hit boom with that, with the Grok and everything, with a fast moving hero like the Valentina. There's lots of possibilities for them to kind of come at angles. Same thing with the Benedetta. Everyone on their team is kind of like, they're going to be a bit more, I feel like if they can take this attack from angles, hit some flanks, hit pivots, pivot, all that type of stuff, it's going to be a little different. Whereas when we see DA, it's going to be a bit, I feel like they're just going to kind of be more grouped up, 5-man, Ube-S strategy, kind of rolling into these towers, rolling into these fights. So it's, can the angles win? Can they get under the back line? Can they break through the front line that DA has brought?
Well, and that's kind of why I favor DA's composition, is because it's there's less that can go wrong with it. You just kind of group, you start marching forward very slowly, very methodically. Where on the side of Area 77, you've got these very mechanically inclined heroes. You've got to come at them from all these different angles. There's a lot of boxes that need to be checked for you to be successful, and you need to be very good at it. If they are on it, though, they're going to have a very successful game. It's just there's an insurmountable amount of things that can go wrong in that process. So it just depends on how their play style goes out here, and if they get that upper advantage and if they can kind of hold on to it and maintain it.
Yeah, so one of the big things for DA last game was they were able to get almost, I think, all three of the starting turtles. You know, they were able to approach, and that's last game we saw them approach it very methodically. This time they have a composition that can do the same exact thing. So I feel like the big answer for Area 77 is breaking the pace, right? Breaking that just scalpel-like precision that DA wants to bring. Kind of force, I think the real answer, like what I wish I would have saw from Area 77 maybe a bit early on, is force them into these 50-50 fights, right? Don't just try to buy time, because DA is not going to make the mistake. Force them into fighting to where maybe you can come out on top in that big mechanical difference. In those micro seconds, maybe you can make the correct decision. Because if they let DA just kind of play their own pace and just kind of get 100 gold scale here, get another 100 gold here, get another turtle here, take your tower, and just slowly put the chokehold on you, it's going to be a problem.
Well, yeah, and then maybe there needs to be an answer, maybe kind of realize, like, have a gut check when it comes to these objectives. Can we take this? Can we do something at this objective? Will we most likely lose this? If we are going to lose it, let's apply some pressure somewhere else. Maybe get the purple buff, the enemy's purple buff. Maybe invade another lane while this is happening. Maybe there needs to be a change up there. But like they constantly were contesting these objectives, lost the objective, waited for the next objective, lost the objective, and they just very slowly, devious activity started building that lead until there was nothing much that Area 77 was able to do. But we are right back into the action, ladies and gentlemen.
It's like they can't just go to Turtle knowing they're not going to contest it, right? it's like we're going to show up to Turtle, but no one's actually going to fight for it. We're just going to watch you take it. And I think that's a great point, right? Because plenty of teams do give up first Turtle. Plenty of teams do give up second Turtle. But they make an attack on the gold lane. They push into the mid a little bit. So that's where Area 77 needs to approach this. But it does look like they are ready this time to fight for this one.
Yeah, much better positioning on this first turtle here. You see JQT doing a great job with those walls. Ooh, here comes a final blow. Kush getting zoned out. Mark Cutie in a bit of trouble. Is going to use that last insanity. Tarzan picks up the first turtle. Mikasa finds a kill onto Mark Cutie, and Kush goes down, followed by T. That is a 1-for-2 advantage to Area 77.
Yeah, plus they probably take purple here. He doesn't have Retry, but if they take this purple, it's not just a small win, it's a huge win for the side of Area 77 in that fight. They find 2 for 1, they find a turtle, they find a purple buff, and now they're moving on to the gold lane. Onto the EXP lane. Area 77 catching stride quickly.
Yeah, very early. We were talking about this, all the different angles that they are coming from, and they're doing a great job of it right now. They've got the advantage, and they are continuing to keep that harassment on to devious activity, keeping that pressure on to them.
Yeah, and the big counter for Xborg, even in the past, one of the reasons why Xborg used to not do as well was because of high bursting mages. Or heroes that can kind of close the distance real quickly. As long as you can get rid of that frag armor as quickly as possible right in the beginning of a fight, it really kind of slows things down. It stops things. And if you can catch up to him and get in on him, then he can no longer kite you. And Area 77 brought a lot of that, right? They have Yureshi on this Benedetta. They have Mark Cutie who can dash in Terrify. They have a jungler who can get a dash and a taunt. They have a Grok who can get a big wild charge. They have a lot of answers to Kush right now. So I think the big job for T and Yato is just kind of huddling. Big play.
What a beautiful wild charge. Yato taking down Jay, and Melon gets taken down as well, but not before he finds a kill onto Isa. We are still in here. Duo big push into the tower. Tarzan trying to get the taunt onto Yato. Is it going to be enough? There's a tower damage, and from the side, incoming Kush with the last insanity. He's going to find a kill onto Tarzan. I want to say, a little bit of a messed up gank there at the bottom.
A slightly messed up gank. They still did get Melon, which is pretty huge. They take down the gold laner. ISO goes down as well, though. So definitely I feel like an even trade, and when you're behind a even trade is not a loss. When you're behind an even trade, it almost feels like a win sometimes. But Area 77 is still not letting up the gas just yet.
Mark Cutie comes in here. They're definitely not trying to give up this purple buff. And it has been a reset. Now Yureshi trying to put the damage on there, and you see the rest of devious activity forced to back off. Big Terrify lands onto Mikasa, and I'm offended lands onto Mark Cutie. All the while Area 77 putting the damage on to the turtle.
Yeah, Area 77, they have a quick-paced team, like I mentioned, and Yureshi Cutie, Benedetta's probably one of the most proactive EXP laners you can have. She can rotate so quickly, get involved in fights so quickly. Yes, a little bit of a glass cannon, but as long as you have a handle on the skills, you can make a huge impact, especially in the laning and early game phases.
Ooh, Kush actually might be in a little bit of trouble here, caught between 3 members, but he does have a little bit of a suppression. Down comes the Electo final blow from Yureshi. He's trying to dash his way to safety from the top, though. Tarzan finds a kill, followed by Mark Cutie. That is 2 down for devious activity, and what a different game from the first for Area 77.
They give up a tower though on the top side, but I don't think it's the end of the world. I still think Area 77, this is what I kind of want to see from them in game one. It's like, go for the fights, man. You guys know they do well in it. Mark Cutie's good. ISO's good. You have a very mechanically gifted team. Like, be willing to take the fights, even if you're not 100% sure you can win it. If you're 60, 70% sure, you guys have the mechanics that can carry you the other 30%.
Yeah, but I want to say here, Devious Activity doing a good job. I mean, we've talked about this before. Kills are great and all, but if you're not transitioning those kills into objectives, you're not really doing much on the game to really kind of enforce your will and open up the map. And Devious Activity doing a good job despite being on their back foot.
Yeah, I mean, Tarzan, though, does have the level up right now. Taking a look at gold. He's not too far ahead in gold above Kush, which is kind of important here. But taking a look at the gold lane, we do see ISO almost 1,000 ahead. Taking a look at the mages, a few hundred. ISO going full damage in the beginning on this carry, locking in the Corrosion Scythe, locking in the Golden Staff. Going to be picking up the DHS most likely next. And once he has that, it's game on.
Yeah, and you can see right now, I mean, still having a presence throughout the entire map. Only 4 to 5 right now, but the gold starting to stack up for Area 77.
I mean, Melon hasn't even finished his second item yet. He still needs a lot more time to come online. And this is when Area 77 really needs capital. Oh, wait a second, Yureshi.
Oh, Yureshi from the back looking for an escape here. Is he going to be able to find it? Man, that slippery Benedetta. Tarzan actually came in for the save, but Benedetta's already long gone.
My guy zoomed in for the hit and run, grabbed one, went back to the XP lane, cleared that up. You know, and this is the problem. Those are the angles. Those are the things that Devious Activity needs to worry about.
Oh, Melon might have not long here. 3 members from Area 77. Tarzan locking on to Kush. Kush had a little bit of trouble, still has the Faraga armor, so he's still got a little bit of an escape, putting on the stacks on the Tarzan. And from the back, J Cutie going to try to zone out if they're going to be able to get this tower. Final blow out from Yureshi. Is he going to be able to find a kill? He is not, but ISO finds the tower at bottom.
Forget the towers, forget the objectives. We want your souls right now. Area 77 with a 5K gold lead, 8.5 minutes in, doing what DA did to them, but a little bit more brutal. They're going to come in for this mid tower now, and now we're starting to see the rollover. Now we're starting to see the investment pay off on all the kills. They're going to start being able to take towers now. They're going to start taking buffs, just denying DA of everything.
Yeah, and almost the opposite of the game when it comes to the objectives here. You can take a look at the damage here. 29,000 already for Mark Cutie, doing a great job. You were talking about it. The big counter for the export, being able to burst him down through that Faraga armor so that he doesn't really have that last insanity. He can't really stay in the front line to try to tank it off there. And I'm not even sure who got that. It looks like T was actually able to get that for Devious Activity. Or actually, no, he wasn't.
Kush? No, Kush I think does. Kush has an orange, so I'm pretty sure he at least gets his orange. It's his first buff in a while, so that's a bonus, right? Needed that one. Now, I think this time DA on the back foot kind of forced to maybe slow play this. They need Melon to scale up. He's taking 2 deaths now. He started off way behind ISO, and now he's even more behind ISO. And it's going to take some time. Mikasa, you know, it's very similar to what we saw from Area 77 last game. The gold defense is gonna escape them, and even their tanky members aren't going to be able to make plays happen.
Yeah, and right now it's completely opposite plays of field here from the first game. DA feeling what the Area 77 was from the first game. They're not able to contest these objectives. They're getting zoned out very properly by Area 77. A little bit. Oh, Tarzan goes in. Maybe a little early. Area 77 jumped the gun a little bit there, but they are going to go ahead, focus down on this purple buff.
Yeah, Lord still marching down the bottom side. I like the way Area 77 is deciding to approach this, right? We let Jay did not clear that wave on the bottom side right away. He wanted Area 77 to be able to take that top tower, move to mid, and look, he lets the wave delay again here, which is very clean, because now it's like they have time to take this mid and then make their way to the bottom. So I love the crush in from Area 77 here. Very clean.
Yeah, and they're hitting all the waves. This is exactly what you want to do with a Lord down at the bottom. It means that they have to answer the Lord, and you have pressure on the other 2 lanes at the opposite end of the map, and it needs to be answered. Great call by Area 77, and just great synergy when it comes to kind of locking up those lanes.
And they're going to get one final push here, see if they can take the last tier 2 on the map. We'll be able to do it cleanly. Well played by Area 77, just overall showing that we can play a clean game too. We can play methodical, but with a little bit of spice. You know, throw something like this Benedetta on your Reshi in there. Just a little bit of craziness. And we talked about in the very beginning, they have all these closing the distance heroes, whereas Devious Activity wants to go against a bit more of a slow-paced team. They have no time to get the I'm Offended on. They have no time to get the big implosion off, because when Area 77 attacks, they're attacking from a distance, and they're closing that distance in a matter of seconds with the Wild Charge, with the dashes from Marcuti, with Yureshi, all of them. You know, they are just very hit-and-go style.
Yeah, and they're doing such a great job. This is what I was saying. Like, I mean, they have a lot of boxes that they need to check to be successful, but they are checking each and every one of them. They're coming at them from different angles. They're able to get these towers down, and they're doing everything very textbook, like you said, able to sync up the lanes and make sure that everything here, that there's not a lot of breathing room for Devious Activity here. 36 seconds left on the next Lord.
Yeah, and I would say that DA had okay, they would be hitting a power spike soon, but the problem is their 2 big damage dealers, Yato and Melon, are the ones that have taken some of the most deaths on the team, you know? 1-2, 1-2, both of them not doing too hot, so they're biting for more than just a few minutes here. They're biting for, you know, maybe all the way to 20 minutes if they want to be able to compete in this.
Yeah, and you had Marcuti dive in there with the Frighten, and that's going to expend an ultimate out from Melon right before this turtle comes out, or right before this next Lord comes out. Now they're going to go, are they going to be able to see T? They catch T out in the bush, so they're doing a great job zoning. They have the vision. Is it going to be enough? JQT in there with a Wild Charge, does pop up. Kush still has plenty of Viraga armor. We're taking a little detour here, little vacation to the side here. Are we going to be able to see what's going on at the turtle? What happened? Export got the Lord there. Kush able to pick up the Lord, and now things have turned on Area 77 right now. Tarzan takes down Yatu. 3 down for Devious Activity. So they get the Lord, but they lose 3 in the process.
All right, so Kush gets the Lord, which is exciting. We will say that something exciting happened, guys. But at what cost, right? They lose 3 members. Kush, Yato, Mikasa. Area 77 might just try to close this in now and end it before Lord even pops up.
Yeah, and they're looking to close it down. You have 3 members at mid. They are going to be able to take down that high ground. And now starting to back up. They're going to start trying to empty out the jungle here. Oh, look at them trying to chase down Benedetta. Yureshi. That is one of the most frustrating heroes, top of the list, to try to chase down.
I don't think they get him. No way. No, I mean, Mikasa, Luslin, I'm offended. Not enough, though. Did you see and then big whiff by Mikasa earlier. Pops the I'm offended in that Lord fight. Like, luckily, Kush still gets the Lord, and I think even though they lost 3 members, it's still kind of a win. They could have probably lost a lot more there. But Mikasa misses a big I'm offended during that, wastes it, and that's not, so then it wasn't only the Blazing Duet that was gone, but it was that too. They just weren't ready for that fight. Luckily, Kush puts his big boy pants on and pulls off a big steal, because that could have been it there. So they bide some more time, but like I said, it's still probably another 5 or 6 minutes until things come down to a standstill.
Yeah, and I mean, they buy a few. I mean, and that's the thing is, though, they were successful. They get the Lord, but they took 3 deaths, so they paid for that pretty heavily. So, I mean, I want to say these next few objectives are really going to tell if Devious. Mikasa is going to get trapped down. ISO going to find the kill there. Kush, in a bad way, is trying to disengage. On the other side, you can see the Electro final blow landing on the T. Is he going to be able to get away? Last Insanity out, and this could be it for Kush. He gets taken down by Tarzan. That is 2 down and 40 seconds still for the next Lord.
TA's crumbling. T just used implosion on absolutely nothing. Mikasa's whiff and I'm offended. DA is crumbling right now, and Area 77 is the cause of it. The chaos that Area 77 has brought to this composition, the chaos that they have brought to the Land of Dawn right now is forcing DA to make several mistakes. And sometimes that's what you got to do. Sometimes you just have to lay the pressure on. And with DA being so methodical in game one, I think Area 77 called it. It's okay. It's like this time we're bringing the fights. This time we're going to put so much on them from so many different angles that they don't know what to do, and it is showing. The cracks in the armor are getting bigger, and Devious Activity feels naked in the Land of Dawn right now, just unable to make a play happen.
Yeah, Mikasa getting trapped out here, but they're in the opposite, I want to say opposite side of the jungle for this Lord. You can see Tarzan, he's back here. I mean, there's not much that you can do as Devious Activity. They're just getting caught too. They're trying to split push. They're doing everything that you learn in Mobile Legends schools when you're behind, is try to send out that split pusher, but now that gets caught as well. It's just like, what else is left for Devious Activity to try to do before this gets out of hand?
Pray to the Mobile Legends gods for Area 77 to make a mistake. Pray to whoever you got on your side, because Area 77 is ready to take him down. It's now a 2K gold lead for ISO. He's completely decked out. He's got the Wind of Nature in. Melon has locked in the Wind of Nature as well, and we're starting to see the side of DA, stack out. They need to pray for just a little more time, They're 12,000 behind. Area 77, I think, knows we got to maybe close this out here because the clock is ticking.
Yoreshi is like 5K above Mikasa right now. He is having an outstanding game. Lord pushing through mid. Kush at the front line trying to fend off this defense for the base. They're chunking down that Lord very fast. Area 77. Oh, from the back T. Lands an explosion on the 4 members. Pushing it in. This could be the turnaround that Devious Activity was looking for, but Mikasa goes down. They're just so far behind. There's not much they can do. Now pressure put onto the base. Yoreshi finds a kill onto Melon, and that's going to take us to a game 3. Trex, I think we're looking at a long night.
A long night for sure, baby. It's rubber band match after rubber band match. Game 3 after game 3. What did I say? These 2 games, what did we all say? These 2 games are going to be the hype ones, and they are the hype ones. It's 1-1 right now. Match point for both teams. Area 77 just coming in clean that match. So clean. You're actually definitely just a star on that Benedetta. Just applying pressure all over. And once again, we saw last time Area 77 made some great plays, but the gold deficit was way too much. This time, DA make a big play. They get that big implosion off. But at a 12,000 gold deficit, it doesn't matter. They weren't able to shred them down. They just weren't able to pull it off.
Yeah, and I want to say too, especially from when you're behind here, we've been seeing some. I want to say we've had some tough games for Ruby in these last 2 series, and it goes to show that, especially she's a very specific type of hero. Once you're behind, though, it's very hard to capitalize on her full utility, the tools that she has.
Yeah, now taking a look at some of these items, Area 77, I want to take a look at Marcutie, just straight raw damage here. Penetration, the crystal, the lightning truncheon, nothing too crazy to see here. Just the thing, though, to shred down Kush and the rest of the team. And Kush, this could have been the downfall, right? Went for a lot of physical defensive items, only towards the end finally locked in some sort of mage defense, and that really might have been the thing that tore him down. I think he was a little too worried about Yoreshi, a little too worried about ISO, when really maybe the problem could have been Marcutie all along.
Yeah, that Valentina definitely. I mean, I was actually kind of skeptical when you talked about it, because I'm like, is Valentina going to be able to output that much damage to be able to kind of burst down the Faraga armor?
Look at that right there.
So, I mean, I stand corrected. He did an outstanding job. And to the point where it just, when you have heroes like this and you're coming from behind, especially heroes that are melee, that you want to get in that front line, I don't even know what your plan is, especially when you're still landing great implosions from T on this Tigreal, but they are not able to capitalize on it because they're so far behind, especially in that early game.
And damage taken. Mikasa continued to just get chunked away in that front line there. Yato with 100% teamfight participation. Everyone kind of trying to do something there, but with 4 kills, it doesn't mean a whole lot. It's not hard to be part of all 4 of those team fights. But in the end, A77 takes it, right? And the export pick up front, I think, was probably one of the problems. But let's jump into some replays real fast. Let's watch the downfall of Game 2 for DA. This is about 5.5 minutes in. This is when Area 77 are really feeling themselves. I mean, just all under the tower. Mark Cutie, all of the team. And we were talking, the big highlight of that match was angles. And Area 77 continued to find them from Yureshi to Jay to Mar. They were on them like a spider monkey. I mean, literally just everywhere.
Yeah, it didn't matter what they were trying to do, especially with Yureshi. Had a great game on this Benedetta. Well, I'm sorry.
That was the implosion right there. That T just completely, I don't know what. Panic. That was that play right there.
Yeah, I think this is one of the better implosions that actually happened from T. From the back, you could see him hiding out there, looking for, I think he kind of pops out here. He's going to find an implosion, but it's not going to be enough to save the team. There goes the implosion, a little bit of a push, but you're 12K behind. All you did is brought them closer to your team so they can close the distance and annihilate faster.
Surprise, and Melon also did not use the Blazing Duet. Like during the pushback, he saved it. I don't know if it would have been enough either way with the implosion. Like I said, the gold deficit was just so much. I don't think their exact goal was to like get kills there. It was more of like, let's clear these waves, try to buy ourselves some time. But Area 77 did not let it happen. They hit the gas, and they hit the gas quick and ended that game in a very clean fashion. So now it's game number 3. Once again, we find ourselves in this position, Private, where both teams feel like they could win.
Yeah, both teams won in a very dominating fashion here. This makes it really hard because it's going to be completely put up on the draft of these teams to see who kind of goes ahead. And I feel like it's hard. It's like I said, this last time we had so many boxes that needed to be checked by Area 70, but they checked every single one of them. They made sure they came from all these different angles and they were able to be successful. And even with a very slow, methodical composition from the side of Devious Activity, they kind of faltered. I want to say Ruby not performing as well as expected. There's a lot of CC when we've talked about this before. Once you get there's still certain heroes that are very strong, but especially those melee ones, once you get behind, there's very little for them to do without getting bursted down and chunked to the point where they're feeding basically.
And I think a big game changer here this time was Yureshi was on Ruby in first game, and it's not a very like proactive EXP laner, right? It's not a very fast moving EXP laner, and things that Yureshi shines on. One of his most well-known heroes is the Arlot, right? Something that can kind of move, dash, make plays happen. And Benedetta's a pretty similar hero, kind of has the same play style. And as, like I said, if Yureshi can kind of capitalize and be someone that can make plays happen, then he's comfortable. Then the rest of the team profits, and we saw it in action last game. So I think coming into this next draft, if Nighthorde wants to pull it off, they got to deny him. They can't they need to have something that can not let, like, they need to stop him from moving around and being everywhere. They need eyes on him at all times, because if he can move freely, then it's just a target on Yato's head. It's a target on T's head. It's a target on all of their heads at any point of the game.
Well, and I think that's kind of the keys to success for Area 77 is, well, at least one of the keys, which is making sure that Yureshi is on a hero where he can shine. Not something that kind of has to kind of wait for the picks, wait for the kind of dancing around in lane for a bit. Something that he can have an effect, that can move around very fast, something that can close the distance and be to be an effect during those objective fights. So maybe that's something that they need to focus on, and maybe on the other side, maybe that's something you need to kind of ban out, is to make sure your Reshi is on those very stalwart, very slow heroes where he's not going to be able to shine, that he's not going to be able to use that mechanical prowess.
Yeah, maybe we see a Benedetta ban next. I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. But another thing is, last draft, Nighthorde tried to like big brain it, right? They like, we're gonna first pick the X-Borg this time because we know they're gonna pick Barats. And Area 77 was like, probably not. We're gonna go for something else here. So I think don't get too far ahead of yourselves for either team. I think remember, like, sometimes simplicity can make it. And I think when we jump into game 3 here, that's exactly what we're gonna see. I don't think either team's gonna go too far out of the realm of like when it comes to draft. I think just keep it simple, stupid. That's what we like to say sometimes, you know.
Yeah, but we're going to go ahead and jump right into this next draft. Of course, the two standards there, the Novaria and the CC taken off the board right away. And yeah, I'm wondering, do we have answers? Is there something from that last game? I feel like it was there's not much to ban out from that last composition. You'd kind of just want to answer it. Like you said, there was a lot of eggs put into that X-Borg jungle basket right away. Picked that up and then had a heck of a time being successful on it for devious activity.
Yeah, I mean, I think they tried something. I think they win for it. They can definitely, we know that their team, similar to like what we saw from Nighthorde last time, game 1, a little off. All of these teams kind of the upper echelon can always go back to normal, can always kind of switch it up a bit, can always kind of get things back to just plain old meta and not get too crazy. And that's what I think DA is going to do here, kind of get back to basics. Area 77, though, with the momentum coming into game 3, they took game 2 very cleanly. And now it's like we just kind of have to do the same thing here. We just play aggressive. I think that's where DA starts to falter. That's where Area 77 starts to shine. And I think they kind of found that rhythm. They found their tempo last game. And I think they can push that to a win here, possibly.
Yeah, very standard. We're kind of sticking with the same recipe when it comes to the bans here. We were talking about that R-Lots, definitely focusing there on your Reshi and the CC as well. So, I mean, I want to say that devious activity already kind of has your Reshi in their sights as far as things that they wanted to ban out, but I'm wondering what we're kind of going through with the third one here. Is it something from last game, or maybe we just stick with the same recipe and change up the comp a little bit?
Yeah, now last ban coming from DA. Do they just like go for the Benedetta here? They go for the carry, which I think is also solid. Claude's still open though. Area 77 has been like picking their marksmans up front in the first phase. Barat's open as well right now. Wondering if they're gonna like put ISO just on a safe pick at this point, and if they don't, does DA just snatch up that Claude right away?
I want to say what is open right now that hasn't been open for a bit. The Faramis is open now. Ooh. I'm wondering if we're maybe looking at a composition there with a lot of regen, and I'm keeping them topped up with that in the mid. We go
Hermes
with
Barats.
Yeah, I mean, Barats is still out there as well. Now that you've taken out the carry, you don't really have much on the lines of the marksman that will be able to kind of chunk him down. So we have that along with the Vexana. Yep.
Tana's kind of, but now it's like if Area 77 decides to go for the Faramis here, DA doesn't have the Valentina answer back. So it's a little, they've put themselves in a slightly weird position. Of course, Area 77, they could go like Faramis Claude, pick up the counter for themselves right away here. That's also a possibility, but then we don't have any XP laner for Yureshi. We kind of put him into a spot where he's not going to get the XP laner that maybe he wants. So there's a lot of things to think about for Area 77 here. Also, if they take the Faramis, it is a slightly slower pace they're going, whereas last game they kept it quick, they kept it moving. If they go for more of that sustainability route, it definitely changes things up, but there's the Claude. And they go for the Minotaur instead, which is also solid, so we keep it aggressive still, and I like it.
Yeah, especially because Minotaur, I want to say in the last 2 matches, the roams were kind of the second banning phase, taken off the board a lot. And this is going to kind of open it up, allow ISO to get farmed and kind of be able to dive in the back through the Minoan Fury, be able to put on that damage, and then get himself back out of harm's way with the BMI. Though I want to say Devious Activity going back the route they were the game 1 with the Kaja, correct?
Yeah. Kaja just constantly locking on a Tarzan, man. Made those objectives very clean for them, and they played it very well. Bans though, Lu Yi, Area 77, I think just hone into gold lane possibly. Carrie and Claude are already gone. There goes the Brody. Maybe Bruno next. Maybe like a Ixia next band or a Harith.
I'm not sure about the Harith. We're not going to have the carry out there, and I feel like Harith is the big counter for the carry. So if you don't have that on the board, there's not really a reason to kind of put it out there. Maybe Ixia is still on the board. You'll be able to kind of have a little bit of a front line. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell when it comes to some of these right now. We have Valentina taken off there, a good ban, and I'm actually wondering what Area 77 is kind of planning with their mage position. Still have Nana out there as well.
Yeah. I think Nana could just be the safe, easy pick, right? Easy pick for them. And it just adds more layers of CC and everything they need. It's also a safe pick that can't really be easily targeted from T with the Divine Retribution. So definitely a nice answer. DA, on the other hand, still needs an EXP laner. Still needs a gold laner. You mentioned the Ixia earlier. We saw that earlier today, actually up against a Claude in the same faction. Did pretty well. Bruno also with the crit damage could be an answer. Can kind of have some range and decent poke against the Claude in lane, and can kind of come out on top.
Yeah, very interesting here. Oh, Irothel. I haven't seen too many Irothels out here. I'm actually not even sure.
I think I saw one on day 2, maybe it was.
We've had 2, and we're at 50%. So winning a loss for Irothel right now.
All right, that's not bad. 50-50 odds, man. You know, welcome to Vegas, baby.
Well, I mean, I guess we're going to see what the answer back is. Oh, the gourd again. I kind of feel like I'm getting flashbacks, a little bit of PTSD from the first game where we had the gourd on Area 77, we had the Kaja on Devious Activity, and we know how that game went, where they had a lot of trouble. Area 77 had a lot of trouble kind of enforcing their will. Ooh, but
there's
we're mixing
the wild
it up
card.
this time. We're mixing it.
Yureshi the wild card. I mean, that's just seeing him on that hero. Like, it doesn't even matter if it fits in the comp or what. Like, just seeing him on that hero is kind of scary. Like, you know, I'm like, oh, well, man, who knows what's gonna happen? You know? How do they answer that?
And we were just talking about that. Yureshi really does good on heroes that he shines in. Those heroes that he can let loose with his mechanical ability. And Benedetta is one of those. Does it fit into the comp? I think we're gonna find out. It's gonna have a heck of a time. I mean, we're looking for the next XP laner, correct? From Devious Activity. So I'm gonna see what he wants or what he's gonna be facing in that XP lane. Probably not gonna want that Ruby again.
It definitely makes T kind of think about, like, it puts a little more pressure into, okay, another hero that can move. So I actually like this answer, because I was thinking, like, originally, like, your immediate thoughts go like something that can slow him down, but the Ruby didn't really work well last time. So instead of picking something that can slow down Yureshi, pick something that can keep up with Yureshi, that can also rotate very quickly, that can also pack a big punch, that can also close distance. So DA answering fire with fire.
Yeah. And you're basically answering with the same thing that Benedetta is able to do. Clear lane very quickly, close the distance back to the objective, and unload a pretty outstanding amount of damage onto the enemy, especially when you're going to have a target like Marcuti. He's going to be a sitting duck with that Mystic Gush. And if Mikasa can kind of find the angle, maybe find the flank to be able to close the distance on the Degord, it's going to be lights out for Area 77's mage.
You can almost argue as well that Paquito maybe even has like a better level 4 spike than the Benedetta. It's slightly different. Yes, there's a slightly longer range with the ultimate of the Electro Final Blow, but I would say that Paquito can get the one-shots a bit quicker.
Yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going the distance for the second series of the night. Devious activity against Area 77. Both teams fighting to get out of a third place.
All right, let's remind you guys, this is brothers in arms right now. Both teams vying for the victory here, vying for those high position spots on the seeding list. Taking a look at some of these emblems, both mid laners and roamers picking up the Wilderness Blessing, going to be able to move fast, going to be able to make plays happen. And with last match's pacing from Area 77, I think that's important for Devious Activity, especially with the Benedetta back on the field. It's extremely important for Devious Activity to be able to keep up with the tempo that Area 77 is trying to bring. And instead of trying to kind of play it slow, maybe try to, speed things up a little bit. And that's kind of what I'm seeing from DA here. They definitely have a bit more of a movable composition here.
Oh, yeah, a lot of quantum charges on Devious Activity. Definitely want to be able to move around the map, get those engagements, and then be able to either chase or kind of disengage. We can see a little bit of something starting at mid. Maybe not. They're just, both teams kind of vying, being patient with their time. Only a 15 gold difference between the two.
I like it. They put pressure on EXP, slow down Yureshi right before Turtle's coming, and they know that he was the big problem last game. And look, all three of them just honing down on Yureshi right now. And this also gives them a nice position over Turtle Pit here.
Yeah, and they're doing a great job of zoning it out. Mark Cutie comes up to try to help out a bit. This just tells you the effect that Yureshi had, that they're putting so much pressure out here. Mark Cutie, a little bit of trouble there, is going to be able to flicker himself away. Mikasa, this is what we were talking about, that Paquito, the amount of damage that he can output as soon as he hits that level 4.
Yeah, T still doesn't have level 4 yet. It's going to be another second until he does, which means he's not going to be too huge in this. Mark Cutie had to go back to base, so Devious Activity kind of claimed ground here, but Area 77 doing a good job at delaying.
Oh, are they going to be able to kind of do something about this turtle? We kind of come in there. Yato finds the turtle. Mystic Gush is out. Mark Cutie finds the kill onto Mikasa. Kush in trouble in the back line. Yureshi might be able to find a kill there. No, it was Mark Cutie who found it, and the rest of Devious Activity are trying to disengage.
Yureshi's a monster, man. This guy is a monster T. Gonna finally get revenge, but still, the fact he's able to bob and weave through there, get the outplay onto Kush, pick up a kill after Yato picks up the turtle. Even though he goes down, it's a huge win for Area 77.
Yeah, and this is what we were talking about, is how much of an effect he has on it. Oh, Melon, a little bit of trouble here. Mystic Gush is out. Mark Cutie going to have to cancel that as he sees T coming in tow. But meanwhile, ISO doing a great job of getting a lot of this gold plating off of this. Comes in deep onto Melon, but it's not enough to find the kill.
That was close. That was definitely a close one for Melon. I was like, what are you doing, bro? Just back off. Just give him the gold plating. But he does come on top, and he's still fighting out on this.
Yeah, ISO, okay. He's doing a great job. There's so much aggression for a Claude, who you think is usually a pretty late or a mid to late game hero.
We'll see. Ooh, T gets a nice pull. Mark Cutie goes down.
Yeah, they find...
Yeah, Mark Cutie goes down. Sorry. Every time wait, Devious Activity got the turtle earlier. See, I get so confused because Yato correlates to Area 77 for me from back in the days. It's just such a weird time to see these two teams fight.
Yeah, and they're doing a great job, right? Both teams right now are kind of like neck and neck. They're both doing a great job of kind of handling the aggression, putting the aggression onto each other, and kind of replying in kind.
So I kind of take back what I say. I think the turtle steal for the loss of Kush, like Area 77 still comes out on top, but the fact that DA got the turtle means that wasn't as bad as a loss, honestly, in the beginning there. Now it's 2-2. Gold at a stalemate. We're back to turtle number 2. Is this going to be the deciding factor here?
Yeah, we're going to see. Yureshi doing Yureshi things into the back line, trying to become a nuisance. Here comes the final blow. Kush very low. Mark Cutie finds the last bit of damage. Mikasa dived in with that, I want to say the champ stance, but is going to use that flicker to get himself back out of harm's way through the mid tower.
Mikasa looking for the game-changing play, but not able to really succeed with it. In the end, they lose Kush. Jungler goes down again, and now Tarzan gonna start to take off. And remember in round number 1 that Tarzan was getting the treatment that Kush is getting this time, except Mark Cutie is really pulling off these magic gushes very well. This time he paired up with Jay Cutie and the rest of the team. Kush is just unable to even vie for these turtles, unable to even vie for these objectives.
Yeah, and I want to say, I was going to mention that too. The Mystic Gushes, he's not really starting off the damage. He's waiting until, I want to say, midway through the fight so that he just puts on the Mystic Gush, finds a kill, and then immediately can turn it off before Mikasa can kind of close the distance on that Paquito and put on the damage.
A little bit of a conceal play from DA, looking for something on the boss side. They find one.
Yeah, there's nowhere for JQD to go there. He got a Divine Judgment, and there's 4